Our entire night tonight has been obviously about two great organizations, CBMC, Christian Men's Business Connection, and CBWC, a women's organization, and that has done a great job. And you've heard some of the testimonies that we've had on video of some of those involved, but I want you to hear in person some of the impact that these organizations are making on businessmen. I had the opportunity just a few weeks ago to visit Ephesus, the historic city of Ephesus in Turkey. One of the things that was so interesting that the guide told us there as we visited the market square is one of the reasons that they felt that the Apostle Paul was so effective there in Ephesus, he spent about 2.5 years there in Ephesus, is because obviously of his status. He was a very well-respected man because of his education and because of his background, which would have given him access to the businessmen of that community. And many believe that that was one of the areas that he targeted was businessmen in that community, because he knew that if he could win a businessman to Christ, if he could share the gospel with them, that not only would that businessman accept Christ, but then his entire family, but then his entire employment also, those who he employed and those who worked in his household would be affected by the ministry of the Apostle Paul. And that's one of the things that CBMC recognizes, CBWC, that when you affect businessmen, it's not just one individual, but it also branches out to those that they impact, everything from family to employees to those that they serve. And I think that's the stories that you're going to hear tonight. So let me introduce our panel to you tonight. Lorne Bell, he is a former Fresno State University football star. He is now on staff with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he's also on the CBMC board. Will you give him a hand for being with us tonight? Richard Shehadey, the Director of Marketing and Communications for Producers Dairy. He's been involved with music leadership in his church, very involved in community activities here in our city. Give Richie a hand. Will you do that? And then, of course, last but not least, a lady you've already met tonight, that's Marvell French. She is the Vice President for Premier Valley Bank, one of the key leaders in the Fresno Christian High School fundraiser event, and, of course, in CBWC. And let's give her another hand. Will you do that? Unfortunately, tonight we had two other members that were going to be on our panel, and that was Bill Smitkamp and Linda Duncan. Because of family emergencies, they're not able to be with us here tonight, so keep their families in your prayers if you will do that. So let's start tonight. Lauren, I want to know the impact. You've been involved now with CBMC, as a young man especially. What's the impact that you see that CBMC is making?
Well, growing up and being involved in sports all my life, being on different teams from 5 years old up through college, one of the things I appreciate most about my time as an athlete was the team, was the camaraderie, was the friendship, the brotherhood that was built. And being able to be a part of FCA at Fresno State on campus there, being able to go to chapels at Fresno State on campus there as an athlete really built me up in my faith, where I could go somewhere and connect with other believers who are fighting the fight that I'm fighting, who are trying to be the best they can be at their sport at a high level, but also pursuing Christ at the same time. So those bonds, that community that I had was priceless to me. So when sports are over and when there's no more team, where do you find that at? Where do you connect with one another? Because in this life, you guys, we can't do this together. We know that. We can't do this together. We need one another. So where do you find that at? We have great churches, obviously, all across our valley, which is a testament to this city and a testament to God. Thank God for that. But with that, CBMC comes alongside it and fits a really big need, I feel like. That's helping connect us to one another in the community and finding that team, finding that camaraderie once again.
So as a young man rising in the community in that, you've talked about the connection obviously you had with sports and the camaraderie there. How important do you see it with other young men to be able to reach out to them through this organization?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a place where you can come to a CBMC event, and it's full of people who are trying to be great at what they're doing in life, like I said, with sports as well, but also pursuing Christ. So when you meet people like that, you learn from them, you sit down with them, you have coffee after the event, or you go out and you have lunch after the event, and you just learn from one another, and you help one another grow and pursue Christ. And I know I have some really awesome relationships that I've gained from being involved with CBMC here. Ron Thomas is one of those men who poured into my life and has kind of been like a mentor to me and just let me know, Lauren, like, life's going to be hard, You're going to struggle, but it's okay. You know, I've struggled, and here's how I got through it. So relationships like that are priceless.
Let me switch to you, Marvell. Something that is unique here about Fresno is the women's aspect of that, CBWC, because there's not too many of those across the country. Very, very few. As a matter of fact, I think we may be one of the only one, the second one in the nation. So talk to us a little bit about women in the business square and the importance of CBWC that it plays.
Well, I think CBWC plays a very important role in the community. And so 8 years ago, when Tom Summers approached myself and then one of our advisory council members, Martha Kistler, we were the first ones to actually try to help put the CBWC group together. We worked for tireless weeks on trying to come up with a mission statement because we wanted to connect with women in the community, with business women in the community, because we're both business people. And so we found that instead of just being an advisory council, as Tom said earlier, we wanted to be right along the side of men because women do a lot of great things and do a lot of great things in business. So we felt it was important for us to walk alongside of them. And I think by doing that, we have created 2 organizations that are going to be long-lasting and moving forward in this community. Connecting, and for me, I've been in banking for 47 years. I started when I was 10, by the way. But I've been in Fresno for, my husband and I, for 38 years. We've always been very involved in the community. He was very instrumental in starting the police chaplaincy program. We were on church staffs in a lot of different areas with our kids growing up. And so you just carry on that mission because serving the community, I have found in my business career, is what gets results and brings you business. And so when I give back to the community, then things come back into my world. And you don't really talk about being a Christian that much in the workplace. You just have to live that role. But it's important to have CBWC as an advisory council that we have, the women that are on there right now, and Joan Sandlin is our president, but all of us have a great connection and a great bond. And we're women that are serving together faithfully, and we get along amazingly. And the wealth of experience on what we can do from our business world and bring into this group and work alongside CBMC has been amazing.
You've been, Marvell, a real role model to so many women. With CBWC, young women now, young business professionals that are coming up, how do you see that mentorship and the opportunity for women like you with the experience of life to be able to pour into their lives? Do you see that role taking place?
Oh, yeah, absolutely see that role taking place because we want to work with future generations so that we can bring younger women starting in business into the group. So the aspect we have going with there's a Bible study group going. Some of us are doing mentoring with women in the workplace. And we find that with that Christian influence, we have speakers come in, and when everybody uses their skill and we work with all these teams of people, it's very, very effective. And I know that there's a lot of things in my business that I've taken into, I have a customer engagement program that I created about 12 years ago now. It went in our bank very strong for about 9 years. Now we have a new parent company, and they're using values the same way to engage employees and to engage people in the community and to all the things that we do to take care of our customers as well. But I just took the values of the Holy Spirit, and the values of our bank happen to be very similar. We all know what those are, and so I put it all together in a program. My husband came up with this great theme, flying in formation, because we saw the Blue Angels fly. If you've seen them, they in perfect formation all the time. And we started from the top down, and we made a great program for our bank, which we started in 2001. And so I've kind of taken my Christian influence and my commitment to what God wants me to do and taken it into my workplace. And I try to mentor the people that I work with and coach them, but I also like to cross over into other businesses in the community and help women, and all of us do that are on this council. So it's very, very effective to do that. But yes, we have to have succession planning and have future generations step up and take some of the roles. This isn't just for the older people to work side by side. So we bring the younger ones in very regularly.
And speaking of new generations, let's turn to Richie now. Producers Dairy, been around for a long time, generational in that, and You're now coming up in those ranks. Obviously a strong believer, follower of Christ. Where do you see, as a business owner or a director in that, where do you see the role of organizations like CBMC, CBWC, to be able to be effective in carrying on your mission, not only as a businessman, but also as a follower of Christ?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet with Tom Summers several years ago when Luis Palau came to town, and I was asked to help basically lead this leadership luncheon that we put on at the Save Mart Center, and H. Spies and I worked together to put on that event, and we had the opportunity to really work with Tom, because one of the keys to it was mentoring and discipleship and follow-up, and the importance of that and following up with people that make a decision to come to know the Lord. And so I really got to see Tom and CBMC at work, and just the strength of their board and their team, and just the organization and their heart to see people mentored. And I guess that was really, that hit home with me, because this younger generation does need to be mentored. You know, they need people to lead them and show them how to live, and you know, they don't know. And so you know, one of the things that I have the opportunity to do with when I meet with people is really, like Marvell said, it's how you live. You know, a lot of times that's where it all starts, but it starts in your quiet time. You know, each morning I get up early, and the first thing that I do is I quote some scripture, and I go into my closet and I spend time with the Lord and pray and read my Bible, and that's putting Jesus first, and then setting that example and teaching others how to do that also.
We often hear about the separation of church and state and government and that, but you're not involved in government. You're involved in private business. And so that separation really isn't there, although a lot of people say, well, you can't talk about it at work, you can't do that. And I understand from a professional standpoint, you don't force your employees to do anything, but just, I think as you said, Marvell, you live that out in front of them. My question is, do you find that CBMC, CBWC, then becomes that connection from what you are living, that people, your employees, your customers, that they're seeing there's a difference in you as a businessman and woman? I want to know what that business is. Do you find CBMC, CBWC as that link, as that connection, then to help to introduce them to a relationship with Christ?
Me?
I'll start with you, and then we'll go down the panel.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, coming back to the mentoring, you know, that all starts, and you have the opportunity with this group to provide that avenue for people to be mentored. You know, I look at our company, and you know, as we look at, we've got over 600 team members, employees, and one of the things that we do is we actually have a chaplain that's available 24/7 for our team members, which is a little unique. But with regards to, it could be coworkers, it could be other business relationships that we have. Absolutely, getting them involved in CBMC is a wonderful opportunity because of the mentoring and the discipleship.
Does the chaplain get free ice cream?
I don't know.
Talk to me afterwards. I'd like to explore that. Marvell.
Well, I was going to say CBWC and CBMC, where we have some joint events. We have some events that are individual, just for the men and just for the women. But it's an easy way to invite someone to a luncheon or to an event without even really saying what it is. We have some great business speakers that also live their faith. And so some of the information and the topics that are shared fit right into your business, whether you're dealing with human relations or whatever it is you're doing in your job, just the guidance that you get from some of these people. So probably the very first event that CBWC had, our speaker was Ashley Swearingen, and that was awesome because we had such a large crowd of people, and people that came, we didn't even realize some of them were Christians in the business place, you know? So that just kind of opened up a whole world and started something really significant that could happen. And so I just know that we make such a great difference, and here we are 8 years later. This is a ministry, It's a nonprofit. I'm really big on connecting businesses more than I am sometimes just that personal Bible study aspect, because, yeah, we all get that at church and at home and whatever, but in the business place, I want to make sure someone gets the idea that we can help them connect and help them learn some of the different philosophies and things that they need to know how to run their business really well and do it with God guiding and leading in the direction and the path for them. And so that's always really, really important to me. So when people attend, I want to make sure they know these are businesswomen connecting with one another so that we can all grow together. And it's come back tenfold to me. It's just been great. But we have a unique situation, I think, in the Central Valley because we have so many Christian leaders. And when I think of, I sit on the City Retirement Board, so when I think of Jerry Dyer and I think of Margaret Mims and I think of all these people that are Christians already, and when we have that big Fresno Clovis prayer breakfast that we have every year that sells out before the next year even comes now. But the great thing about it is that I've had people come from out of state that we invited one time to visit, and they couldn't believe how blessed we are to have so many Christian leaders in our community. It's like amazing. So we're blessed, I think.
So Marvell, let me follow up on that because I think you hit a very important thing. Is we have a great heritage here in our community of Christian leaders, as you have well pointed out. But time does pass. People do retire.
It's called succession planning.
Yeah, and people do get old and white-haired. My question.
We saw a couple of those tonight.
My question seriously is, then that really shows the importance of groups like this in helping to mentor and to raise up that next generation. Because if we take it for granted that we have all these great Christian leaders in our community, if there is not a pull for them to draw from, if there's not professionals that will then step into those places, CBMC, CBWC really gives us that opportunity. Am I right?
Yep, that's exactly our goal and what we're trying to do. And so the one thing I say, and I'm not trying to ask for money for this organization, but nonprofits, everyone needs funds. And this one here is so vital, I think, to our community. And we forget that they need funds too to run this organization. And so, I just want to look at this as that's a ministry for us too, and for businesses that can actually support these two organizations because they make an impact on the business community.
Great. Lorne, I'll give you last word.
To add to that, I work for a nonprofit. FCA is a nonprofit, and I just want to brag on Tom for a second. Tom Summers, this man, if not for him, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, me, Pup Nelson back there, our leader, we would not be here without for that man. The relationships, yeah. Tom Summers and CBMC, they're responsible for raising support for their ministry. But Tom is so generous with his time and his relationships and pointing people to us that might support FCA and sacrificing maybe their support for CBMC. So Tom, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for what you do. The relationships that I've gained through CBMC, I'm forever grateful for. So Tom, thank you very much.
All right. Let's give our guests, our panel, a hand one more time. Thank you all so much.